There's a joke in the nuclear navy that's been around for decades. What's the difference between God and a nuclear operator? God doesn't think he's a nuclear operator. Nobody laughs the first time they hear it. Not because it isn't funny, because it's too accurate to be comfortable. Here's the thing about nuclear power that most people don't understand. It doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care that you've been awake for 20 hours, or that you're going through something at home, or that you were distracted for 11 seconds during a parameter check. The physics running inside a reactor core is indifferent to every human variable except one: whether the person watching it knows exactly what they're doing exactly right now, with zero margin for close enough. In 70 years of US Navy nuclear operations, since USS Nautilus first went underway on nuclear power in January 1955, there has never been a reactor accident. Not one partial meltdown, not a single radiation-related fatality, not in submarines, not on aircraft carriers, not once. That record didn't build itself. It was built by people, specific, carefully selected, relentlessly trained people, operating inside a culture that one man essentially willed into existence through sheer force of standards and a refusal to accept anything less. Admiral Hyman Rickover, the father of the nuclear navy. The man who interviewed every single nuclear candidate personally until he was 82 years old and physically forced into retirement. The man who, when asked what his management philosophy was, said, "The reactor does not forgive." 5 words, the entire culture of nuclear operations in America distilled. This is what it looks like to live inside that culture, from the first day to the last. Level 1, the candidate, 20 years old, a test score, an interview, and a chair with the front legs sawed off. You didn't stumble into this, you tested into it. The Nuclear Field ASVAB composite isn't a regular military aptitude test. It's specifically designed to find people who can hold a large, interconnected technical system in their head, not just memorize it, but reason about it. What happens to subsystem B when subsystem A behaves unexpectedly? How does it change in one parameter cascade through 4 others? About 12% of applicants score high enough to qualify. You're one of them. Then comes the interview. For most of nuclear power's history, that meant sitting across a desk from Rickover himself. He was famous for it, notorious depending on who you ask. He had the front legs of the candidate's chair shortened, so you were always slightly off balance, physically leaning forward, never quite settled. He'd give you a direct order and immediately contradict it. He'd ask a question and interrupt you mid-answer. He wasn't testing your knowledge. He was testing something that knowledge can't fake: how you responded when the ground shifted under you. One candidate, when Rickover told him to go to hell, paused for exactly 1 second and said, "Which route would you suggest, Admiral?" Rickover looked at him for a long moment. "That'll do," he said. The guy got in. The modern interview is less theatrical, same intent. They want to know one thing above everything else. When you don't know something, do you say you don't know? Because in nuclear operations, the person who pretends to know something they don't isn't just wrong, they're dangerous in a specific, irreversible way that other industries don't have to worry about at the same scale. Nuclear Power School in Charleston, South Carolina is 6 months. It takes 4 years of civilian nuclear engineering curriculum and compresses it into 24 weeks. The failure rate is real, and it isn't small. The people who wash out aren't dumb. They're people who were the smartest person in every room they'd ever been in, and they ran for the first time into a program that doesn't wait for anyone. The material keeps moving whether you're keeping up or not. You eat dinner at 10 p.m. most nights. You read textbooks until your eyes stop focusing. You develop a specific relationship with the vending machine on the 2nd floor of the school building because the cafeteria closes before you finish studying. You pass every exam. You move on. You don't feel ready. That's fine. Prototype is next.
Level 2, the Watchstander, 22 years old. Your first real reactor. The textbooks are in a drawer somewhere. This is the actual thing. Prototype is 6 months on a real operating reactor plant, run by the Navy specifically for training, but real in every way that matters. The pumps run, the reactor produces heat, the instrumentation reads actual physics happening in real time. When you make an error in prototype, it's caught by your instructor and corrected. When you make an error on the boat, the plant tells you itself, and the telling is less gentle. Then you get to your submarine. The engineering spaces of a fast attack submarine are not a comfortable place to spend time. They're warm, They smell like hydraulic fluid and metal and something that doesn't have a name, but that every submariner recognizes the way you recognize the smell of your own house. The passageways require a specific crouch and turn body movement to navigate that becomes completely automatic within a few weeks and marks you immediately as someone who's been on boats when you do it instinctively on a ship. Your rack, your bunk, is about the size of a coffin, generous coffin. You get a curtain for privacy. Behind it, a few books, a laptop loaded with movies you'll have seen 4 times each by week 6, and a photograph of whoever's back home. The photograph is load-bearing. You stand 6 hours on, 12 hours off. The 12 hours off sounds like a lot until you subtract maintenance, qualification studying, meals, and the specific kind of decompression that the human nervous system requires after 6 hours of sustained technical vigilance. What's left is sleep, and sleep on a submarine is a skill you develop rather than a thing that just happens. Your job on watch: read the plant. Temperature, pressure, flow rates, neutron flux, the vital signs of the reactor, displayed on instruments that you learn to read not just as numbers, but as a story. Normal parameters tell a normal story. A parameter drifting slowly outside normal is the beginning of a different story, and your job is to catch the beginning, not wait for the middle. The first time a real anomaly happens on your watch, nothing catastrophic, a minor casualty, the kind that exists specifically to be caught and corrected, your hands go to the right places before your conscious brain catches up. The procedure executes, the plant responds, the casualty is addressed. Afterward, your heart rate takes about 20 minutes to come down while you finish the watch. You don't mention the 20 minutes to anyone. Neither does anyone else. That's not the culture. The culture is, the plant is normal, the watch continues, you check the log. You check the log. Level 3. The division officer, 27 years old. You know the plant, now you're responsible for the people who run it. Completely different problem. 5 years in and your qualification card is full. You know the plant the way you know your own apartment in the dark. Not by thinking about where things are, but by moving through it. When a parameter reads slightly wrong, you feel it before you process why. Now you have a division, 20-something nuclear-trained enlisted sailors, most of them between 19 and 24 years old, running a nuclear reactor. When they go home on leave, their families ask what they do. They explain it, the families nod politely and don't quite believe it. A kid from rural Tennessee who enlisted at 18 is standing watch on a nuclear reactor at 19, qualified to respond to a main coolant leak at 2 a.m. without waking the officer of the deck. That's not an exaggeration, that's a Wednesday. Your division has a character. Every division does. There's usually one guy who's technically exceptional and slightly insufferable about it. There's always someone who's better at the practical work than the written exams and needs to be developed differently. There's a third-class petty officer who's been on the boat for 4 years and knows this specific plant better than anyone alive, including the engineers who designed it, and who will tell you exactly what you need to hear, whether or not you outrank him, because the plant doesn't care about rank and everybody knows it. The smart division officers learn to listen to that petty officer like their career depends on it, because it does. Not in a political way, in a literal, technical, this information will prevent me from making an error that ends badly way. You pull a sailor aside one afternoon. He's technically fine, passes every evaluation, never makes procedural errors. But you've noticed something. When he's tired, his log entries get slightly less specific. Not wrong, just slightly less precise than when he's rested. You mention it, not as a correction, as an observation. You tell him you've seen it. He looks at you for a second, then nods. He never knows that you spent 3 minutes reading his log entries from the past 6 weeks to confirm the pattern before you said anything. That's fine. He doesn't need to know. The logs get better. Level 4, the engineer officer, 32 years old. The ENG, your name on the plant, around the clock, no exceptions. Every submarine has an engineer officer, and every submarine wardroom has a specific, unspoken relationship with their ENG, something between deep professional respect and a low-level anxiety that never fully resolves, because the ENG is the person who carries the plant personally in a way that the other department heads don't carry their departments. The Aang is responsible for everything engineering related on the boat, with specific named personal legal responsibility for the nuclear reactor plant. When Naval Reactors comes aboard to inspect, and they inspect with a specificity that makes other regulatory bodies look casual, it's the Aang who answers. Not the CO, not the XO, the Aang. Naval Reactors inspections are the organizing event of engineer officer existence. They arrive with no warning. They inspect procedures, test operators verbally, pull maintenance records and check them against physical evidence, examine logs going back months, and verify that the qualification signatures on every Watchstander's card are backed by actual demonstrated knowledge rather than just signatures. When they find something, and they always find something, there is exactly one acceptable response. You're right. Here's how we fix it. Here's how we prevent recurrence. No context, no explanation of the operational tempo that contributed to it. No, to be fair, just, you're right. This sounds simple. It requires a specific character to actually do it every time, especially when the finding feels minor or technically defensible. The character is the same one Rickover's interviews were designed to select for, and at engineer officer level, either you have it or you spend a tour managing the gap between who you are and what the job requires. And that gap is exhausting in a way that accumulates and shows. You are effectively on call every minute of every day. The plant runs 24 hours a day. 3 watch sections rotate through the engineering spaces and they all report to you, which means at any given moment, someone is making decisions about your reactor and you are responsible for the quality of those decisions. When something happens at 3 a.m., the call comes to you. You stop thinking about this after a while. Not because it stops being true, because the weight becomes background. It's just the condition of the job. You breathe it. The thing that actually gets to you, if you're honest, isn't the pressure. It's the isolation of it. Your spouse back home knows you're on a submarine. They know you can't call. They know you'll be underway for months. What they can't fully know, because there's no way to explain it that translates, is what it's like to be 6 weeks into a deployment, running on 5 hours of sleep, responsible for a nuclear reactor in a steel tube 400 feet underwater, and to have your entire personal world compressed into a photograph behind a curtain. You keep the photograph anyway. It helps more than it should. Level 5, Commanding Officer, 38 years old, 130 people, 1 reactor, your name on everything. The ocean is not interested in your feelings about this. Submarine Command is the most selective command in the United States military. The screening evaluates every aspect of a candidate's record with a precision that reflects what's actually at stake, which is, ultimately, 130 lives and a nuclear reactor operating in a medium that kills you efficiently if anything goes significantly wrong. You get the boat. And the thing that changes immediately, not gradually, not after a settling in period, but within about 48 hours, is the texture of the responsibility. It doesn't feel heavier exactly, it feels complete. There are no edges to it. It doesn't end at the boundary of your watch. It doesn't clock out when the XO takes the con. It's just there, continuously, like a frequency you can't unhear once you've tuned to it. The 130 people on your submarine live in a space roughly the size of a small apartment building compressed into a cylinder. Their bunks stock 3 high. The mess decks seat maybe 25 at a time. Their entertainment is movies on a shared server. By week 8, everybody's seen everything, and the mail that comes through on message days. And each other. There's no calling home, no texting your wife that you'll be late. When you're underway, and the people who love you either make peace with that, or they don't. The ones who last have made a specific kind of peace. Their partners have developed a self-sufficiency that is, quietly, sometimes, more than the sailor knows how to fully reintegrate with when they finally surface. That reintegration is real and common, and largely handled individually because the support systems exist, but don't quite reach the depth of the problem. You think about this sometimes. Not obsessively, you have a reactor to run and a mission to execute, but it lives somewhere in you, the knowledge of what the deployment costs the people who don't deploy. Tactically, you're operating in 3 dimensions simultaneously in a medium where being wrong is usually not correctable after the fact. Every decision to change depth, change course, go to periscopic depth, each one is a calculation of tactical necessity against operational risk, against the specific conditions of right now. The reactor is running underneath all of it, always. One night, a casualty alarm sounds at 2:30. Secondary system, non-critical, but requires immediate response.
You're in the control room in 90 seconds. You were already half awake, the way submarine CEOs are always half awake underway. The watch section is executing the procedure correctly. You watch. You say nothing. They don't need you to say anything. They're doing it right. Afterwards, you go back to your stateroom. You sit on your rock for a minute. You think about the fact that those watchstanders, your watchstanders, responded to a 2:30 alarm and executed a casualty procedure correctly months into a deployment, tired, in the middle of the ocean, without hesitation. Rickover's record didn't build itself. It was built in moments exactly like that one, by people exactly like those. Tonight, it was your people. You lie down. You don't fully sleep.
Level 6 Naval Reactors, 48 years old. You spent 25 years being the operator. Now you are the standard itself. You're not standing watch anymore. You're not writing procedures for one plant or managing one crew's qualifications. You're setting the policy that determines how every nuclear plant and every submarine and carrier in the US Navy operates, the training requirements, the inspection standards, the qualification criteria, the specific culture that the next generation of watchstanders will be shaped by. Naval Reactors is the organization Rickover built. It still operates on his fundamental principles. It still has the record. The civilian nuclear industry looks at naval reactors the way a student looks at a dissertation they're trying to understand well enough to replicate. After 3 Mile Island, after Chernobyl, after Fukushima, each time the question in the industry was some version of, why doesn't this happen in the Navy? What are they doing that we're not? The answer isn't technology. Civilian reactors are well engineered. The answer is culture, the specific transmitted generation to generation insistence on knowing what you don't know, saying what went wrong, fixing it without managing the optics of fixing it, the culture Rickover designed. There's a problem at this level that the operational tours don't prepare you for. How do you transmit a culture to people who didn't experience its formation? The junior officer briefs you on a proposed change to a qualification standard. His reasoning is sound, his data is clean. The change would reduce the qualification timeline by about 3 weeks while maintaining rigor. You listen to the entire brief. Then you ask him one question. What's the failure mode if someone completes this qualification 3 weeks faster than they currently do and isn't actually ready? He doesn't have a good answer, not because he's not smart, because he hasn't thought about it from that direction. You don't reject the proposal. You send him back to think about the failure mode, document it, and return. He comes back 2 weeks later with a modified version that preserves the efficiency gain in some scenarios and adds a verification step that catches the failure mode he identified. It's a better proposal. He'll probably remember that conversation for the rest of his career. Good.
That 22-year-old on watch right now, cold coffee, nominal parameters, 43 days underwater. He's not carrying the weight of 70 years of history consciously. He's just doing his job, checking the log, reading the plant, staying ahead of the physics. But he's part of it. Every correct parameter check, every honestly written log entry, every time someone speaks up about something that doesn't look right before it becomes something that definitely isn't right, that's what the record is made of. Small moments repeated by the right people for 70 years. The reactor still doesn't forgive, so they make sure they don't need forgiveness. That's the whole thing. If this kind of story is what you're here for, the real version, from the inside.